Over the past few years, video games have evolved into a graphically stunning, mechanically deep, and content-rich medium. But it wasn't always like this. Games as an art form have been changing and improving since their creation, just like every other medium. There are some games, though, that have stood the test of time. They remain good-looking, well-designed, and fun to play. We're here today to look at the top 5 retro video games that still hold up. So without further ado, let's get started. Number 5. Halo. What's ironic is that I almost didn't include this one because when you jump back into the multiplayer today, it hasn't aged well as some of the other games on this list. But after playing a few rounds and a bit of single player, I quickly remembered why I enjoyed this game so much earlier. The game was really revolutionary at launch. This was basically the first FPS with a decent story, and as a launch title for an original Xbox, this game was a huge system seller. At the time it was graphically beautiful, introduced several new innovations that are still used today, and had an incredible soundtrack. While the lack of sprint functionality and any type of precision aiming with the assault rifle may turn some people off, you can still find matches online today, even after the servers were shut down. That's right, folks, even after the servers were shut down, fan modders were so dedicated that they developed a patch to switch the game over to peer-to-peer multiplayer. You see this, Microsoft? Where are my Halo 3 and 4? Anyway, the graphics still look good enough, the story still holds up, and the multiplayer is still a ton of fun, so it's definitely worth checking out. Number 4. Star Wars Rogue Squadron. This one was also on my top 5 Star Wars games list, which you can click on the screen to watch, but it was only an honorable mention because it was just too old to make the list. It remains, however, a classic game with a few compatibility issues with modern operating systems. Rogue Squadron is a Star Wars-themed dogfighting game which puts you in the role of a rebel starfighter pilot in the infamous Rogue Squadron. You fight in locations across the galaxy in all manner of classic Star Wars craft, from X-Wings to TIE fighters. The game was revolutionary on the Nintendo 64, running in mind-blowing 640 by 480 using the RAM expansion pack. On the PC, the game still looks pretty good when you run it in HD on max settings. It does take a bit of tweaking to get it to work since LucasArts opted for a 16-bit installer, which isn't compatible with modern operating systems. But there are several fan-made installers which will also add some graphical improvement in addition to simply installing the game. Once you get it working, you're treated to a good story with great voice acting and surprisingly good graphics for a 16-year-old game. It's an incredible Star Wars experience. Though, on a side note, you will need a joystick for this, as it is a fight game, which generally works best with joysticks anyway. But if you've got one, I would highly recommend you give this a try. Number 3. Crimson Skies. In 2000, just 1 year after Star Wars Rogue Squadron was released on the Nintendo 64, Microsoft released Crimson Skies for Microsoft Windows. Another dogfighting game which should really be played with a joystick, Crimson Skies puts you in the boots of an air pirate, raiding the skies across the shattered remnants of the United States of America in the year 1937. As Gentleman Pirate Nathan Zachary, you'll raid British Zeppelins, ransack opposing pirate bases, devastate Nazi fighter bases, and even hijack the Spruce Goose. The game takes the form of a first/third-person flight simulator, on steroids. You'll fly over a dozen missions on surprisingly detailed maps with large numbers of hot rod fighters and a wide variety of missions to save the world. This game is a classic sci-fi shooter with a fun story, great voice acting, and incredible graphics for the time. It has impressive sound design, and the gameplay still rocks. It's definitely worth a try if you like flight games even a little. Do you remember that old History Channel show, Decisive Battles? It's okay if you don't. It was nearly 10 years ago, and it was even reasonably obscure back then. But it looked at some of the ancient battles of the Western world that shaped the future. It also showcased the power of the Rome Total War game engine, which it used to simulate these battles for the visuals. Yes, it was used for a TV show, and the second one actually as well. It was that impressive at launch. Rome Total War is a military turn-based / real-time strategy game which puts you in the boots of a Roman faction leader, taking control of legions of Roman soldiers and taking them across the ancient world on a turn-based strategy map. When your forces clash with barbarians or other Roman factions who turned against you, you engage them in a real-time tactical battle that lets you take direct command of your troops. You manage troop health, weapons, special abilities, and morale to lead them to victory. The game was frankly insane at launch. Using a brand new engine, it was able to produce incredible visuals for the time, and utilize some of the most advanced AI ever created. Now, both of these things have paled somewhat in recent years, but the game still looks pretty good and plays pretty well. This is the first game on my list to get the prestigious Doomsday Clock Award. It'll keep you playing so long that you'll lose all track of time. While the multiplayer servers have been shut down, the Steam edition, which you can get for free if you have a disc-based copy, still works. Go get this game right now. I'll wait. Number 1. Civilization 4. Now, I'd like to say, before I go into the reasons why I chose this one, that I waffled a lot on this decision. The first place spot was a big deal, and at one point I had Crimson Skies up here, and then for a while it was Rome Total War, but I ended up settling on Civilization 4, because I have so many good memories of this game. A ton of nostalgia for it. Civilization is a long-running series of turn-based strategy games where you take control of a civilization and guide it from the settlement of its first cities to the modern era and beyond. Now, a lot of critics would be putting Civilization 5 on this list rather than 4, because it had some pretty big overhauls to gameplay and graphics that look really, really good on paper. But I'm a Civilization fan, not really a critic. And quite frankly, I don't think those decisions really panned out in gameplay. I'm going to go with Civ 4 because it was the best of the bunch in my opinion. It had a graphical overhaul, significantly refined gameplay and improved combat over the previous games, and a streamlined resource management system that was much better. This is the second game on this list to win my Doomsday Clock Award. It will make you completely lose track of time, which is probably the worst thing about it, since you'll lose countless hours in-game. The graphics remain remarkably good. In fact, if you were to tell me this was an indie release in 2015, I'd believe it. The music is top-notch, and it has Leonard Nimoy, may he rest in peace, doing audio. The gameplay is still the best in the series, in my opinion. By all means, if you enjoy strategy games at all, you should take a look at this game. It's very inexpensive these days on Steam or on Amazon, so you should seriously consider it if you enjoy strategy games at all. So that's it. My top 5 retro games that still hold up. I'd like to say thank you if you made it all the way to the end of this video, and thanks for sticking with me on my channel even though I haven't had a lot of content lately. Life's been busy, and unfortunately, that often means my YouTube channel kind of gets pushed to the side. So, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm going to be trying to transition to a more scripted, condensed format that allows you to get on with your life quicker, and me to produce videos faster than just rambling on for an hour. And I hope you'll stick with me as I make the transition. Please, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. I do try to read comments, so I will attempt to respond to any questions or concerns you may have. Criticism is always appreciated. As always, thank you. See you next time.